Hello and welcome back to the making of the terrain for OakGrove. As you can see, I've gone ahead and put the fence, like the defense walls, right the way around now. I've also added them under a empty object, so they're all one sort of thing. Just makes it a bit cleaner here in the scene. I've also gone ahead and changed a few little bits on the mountains just to make them look a bit more realistic and kind of blend in a little bit. So it's looking all good. Essentially in today's video what I'm going to do is I'm going to start bringing in the buildings, more so as sort of like placeholders, just so I can see where things are going to go, and then I can start fleshing out the thing from there. So I'm going to bring in the textures first for the chapel, so we're going to bring this in. Now hopefully the LODs have come across correctly. I'm going to double check that obviously when I bring them in into Unity. So that's just coming in. It does take a little while for them to kind of port across. So it's quite they're quite detailed, the files, so once this comes across I can go ahead and import the chapel itself. So essentially what I did with all the buildings, I've made two separate versions, so like a high poly and a low poly, and that's sort of like the LODs. So when you're looking at it far away, you're not going to see that much detail, but obviously when you get closer, you're going to see full detail. And hopefully that's going to be set up in the camera when it all comes in. So not long now for this to finish importing, so that's all come in. And then I'm just going to bring in my FBX of the chapel. Now this FBX does have both the LODs in it, so I'm hoping it's going to come in and work. So I'm not going to fix that for the moment. I'm just going to bring it in here, and as you can see, really detailed, not detailed, which is perfect. I mean, that looks absolutely good. And here I can go ahead and kind of change the LODs as and when needed. So when you're up real close to the chapel, you can see it in all its splendor, all its glory. But as you get further away from it, you'll see it change. So I'm probably going to bring LOD to about there, probably. It's there. So you see the change, it's nice and smooth, and then you get closer. I may need to play around with it just a little, but for now I think that'll do. So on the y-axis, I believe if I do 180, that should flip the whole thing around. And I'll pop that in there. And because we're quite close to it, we can go right inside as well. There's a few little issues here and there, but I'm not too worried about that, because I can always sort that out later. There's like a texturing issue inside here somewhere, but I can sort that later. For now, the main thing is just to get it in and looking good. So what I want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and bring in I might as well bring in the doors of the chapel as well. So the two doors. I'm probably going to fix those. It's just like the normals. Sometimes are a little bit dodgy sometimes when they come in. So I'm going to bring these in. These don't really need to be LODed, so that's the term I'm going to use, LODed. Eventually these doors will open, so I'm just going to put them in here and line them up to where they need to be. So it kind of needs to go in there, And that one needs to go about here as well. So just line them up. And that's looking pretty good. So they're in now. What I will do though, because I do want to come into it, I'm going to just rotate this just a little bit. Just so we can get inside here and maybe fix the issues that we have. It does need to come up a little bit, the entire chapel. So what I will do, I'm going to select everything. So make sure these doors are selected as well because they're in a good place. And bring the chapel up just slightly. Just so we don't get that random twitching of the floor. Like we were getting in there. So as you can see, the floor was twitching a little bit. So I'm just going to bring it up to about there. And that should stop that twitching. This is just so we can go in there. Now on the doors, I'm going to add a component. Yeah, let's just add mesh components for now. We could just use box components for the doors, but since it's already selected the mesh component. So that's the chapel in. I'm just going to go ahead and save. Of course, that may need to change a little bit, but for that's looking okay. So I'm going to bring in the homes next. So again, that needs to come in. So I'm going to bring in textures for the homes. I may rename the files so I know which is which textures are which. And this is where things start slowing down a little bit because obviously I'm bringing in quite a lot of files. So once they're coming in, I will go ahead and bring in the house. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that and then come back to you once the house is in. This is the same process. I might actually just come back when all the buildings are imported and then show you what I've done. Hello and welcome back. As you can see, I've made a little bit of progress with some of the buildings now in. I've got the houses in, and what I've also done is create like the glass windows. So you can see that there's actual glass in the windows now, and I've just duplicated those over and over, and the lots seem to work as well. I brought in some of the barns for the animals, so this is like a stable that I brought in. And there's a few more bits and pieces that need to come in, but it's looking good so far. I will add more bits in as and when, just to flesh it out a little bit. So these barns are roughly going to be where the pens are going to be. So there's going to be quite big pens, sort of around here, and the rest of it is going to be kind of like the fields and probably like the windmills and stuff. And then in between is going to have trees. So in the next video, I'm going to be finishing off this little section over here. So the chapel section. So I'm going to add in the fence, sort of the walls of the cemetery. I'm also going to put in the headstones and sort of like the well. I'll probably do the wells later because they need to go all over the place. I'm just going to focus on this section so that I make a nice little video. I won't show me putting all the walls around. I'll just do the walls and the gate, and then I'll put the headstones in and then show you what I've done after that. So until the next video, thank you for watching. Goodbye.